Today I'm going to be talking about genetics, specifically genes and alleles, which are present in our DNA. First, let's start off with some vocabulary. A gene is a unit of heredity which is made up of nucleotides forming part of a chromosome. Genes are transferred from a parent to an offspring and are located in DNA and RNA. Genes are also responsible for specific traits within the offspring. An allele is a variant form of a gene, and humans have two of these because they are diploid organisms. Humans inherit one allele from the mother and one from the father. Each allele is expressed as a letter and is either dominant or recessive, which I'll get into later. When both alleles are identical, this is called homozygous. And when there are two different alleles, it is called heterozygous. Next, we have genotype. A genotype is the entire collection of genes in an organism, regardless of what traits have surfaced. A phenotype, on the other hand, is all the observable traits of an organism. The phenotype is responsible for all genetic traits, such as having blue eyes or being short. Dominant alleles are alleles that will always code for a trait in the phenotype, regardless of what other allele they are paired with. This is represented by a capital letter. Recessive alleles will only be visible in the phenotype if they are matched with an identical recessive allele. Recessive alleles are shown by a lowercase letter. Offspring receive one allele at random from their father and one allele at random from their mother. This combination of two alleles will determine a trait in the offspring. The trait associated with the dominant allele will be visible in the offspring if the dominant allele is paired with a recessive allele or another dominant allele, and vice versa. A trait associated with the recessive allele will only be visible in the offspring if the recessive allele is paired with another identical recessive allele. Now that we have all this information, we can try making a Punnett square. Let's say that the allele responsible for the trait of being tall is dominant over that of being short. If a homozygous short male and a heterozygous female have an offspring, we can use a Punnett square to determine the phenotype and genotype of that offspring. Make sure that the male's alleles are together on one side of the box while the female alleles are on the other. In this case, I put the male's alleles on the left side of the box and the female's on top. For the letters on the left, copy that letter into the two boxes to the right of that letter. For the letters on the top, copy each letter into the two boxes below that letter. Each box should have two letters in it, making up the genotype. Based off the information in the Punnett square, we can find the genotype and determine the chances of the offspring receiving what alleles. Finally, we can find the phenotype by deducting what percentage of the genotype has dominant alleles in it and what percentage has two recessive alleles. Let's do some practice problems. If freckles are a dominant trait and no freckles are a recessive trait, and an offspring has two lowercase r alleles, will the offspring have freckles or no freckles? The correct answer is no freckles. For the next problem, find the chances an offspring has of being tall. from a heterozygous female and a heterozygous male. Keep in mind that the trait of being tall is dominant over being short. Since both the male and female are heterozygous, we need to put a dominant and recessive allele for each one. This results in the following genotype. Since 75% of the allele combinations have a dominant allele in it, this means that the offspring will have a 75% chance of being tall and a 25% chance of being short, which is the phenotype.